Welcome to Talking in Stations. This is Matterall here with, Rundle. How you doing, Rundle?
I'm doing great. Hello to my internet spaceship friends in EVE Online. Nice to see you guys tonight.
Yeah, and we also have Abby,
Hey, everybody.
and Hateless is with us today. How you doing, Hateless?
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right, we're going to talk about patch notes today because it is patch day on the May 18th of 2021. And we also have a little bit of other news, and we'll talk to Hateless about what he thinks about some of these module changes that hit all at once. I guess that's the big story. But before we get there, Rundle, what should we celebrate?
Dun, 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 dun. Eve has won the Webbie Award. Yeah.
One of
For
the web.
Project Discovery. So
Yeah. Let's bring that up real
the
quick.
the People Webbie's official Webbie's People Voice Award winner is Project Discovery with EVE Online. So that was announced today.
You did
So
it.
Good job.
That's a testament to Eve players, and they did what you're not supposed to do, which is gang up on awards and vote people's choice. So good job.
Yep. So that was pretty good.
But also
You know,
pretty interesting because of all the awards, I think that was one that was, helping with the crisis at hand, which was COVID and some of the Project Discovery stuff related to virus busting. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the neat thing that this one was for me. Just, it's the contribution of the COVID-19 research. It was able to very quickly transition to that, assisting in that, right? Which obviously has a huge impact worldwide, still is. And I think it's, it shows well on Eve and the player community and CCP and, all of it. Yeah, I think it's and is I guess the New York Times states it's the internet's highest honor. So
It
yeah, good
is.
job all around.
Yeah, Webbies are a big deal. That's not some goofy little thing. It's a big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. There's one data point here. Let me just read this right from the award. Right. So this is just since last June, right? So not even a full year, but close. 327,000 EVE Online players made over 115 million data submissions, saving scientists over 330 years of research in understanding how COVID-19 affects blood cells and the human immune system. That is, to me, those are just big, huge numbers and incredible. Uh, I don't even think I did some of this. I don't even think at the time I realized I was even helping with the COVID stuff. I was just playing around because
Trying
you
to get
know,
your skins.
yeah, it's just skins. Just kind of was bored at work, and I'm like, a game in a game sounds good, so I was doing it. So
Yeah. I like
yeah,
what Frankie says. Eve cured COVID.
That's a pretty big claim.
yeah,
But I think it's awesome that the community got to contribute towards a
yeah.
world problem. I think that is really cool.
Yeah. So I
I
mean,
w-
if you're stuck up in your room and your wife is calling for you, or the kids, or your parents, or whatever, you can now shout down, "Don't bother me. I'm curing COVID.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm even curing cancer. You can't come and bug me.
I'm
I'm
doing
doing
science.
really important things."
Being
I,
ambitious here.
Yeah.
I was out of work for a short time last year when COVID hit, and one thing I did actually every day was I logged in and I maxed my project discovery, because one, I had nothing else to do, and two, I might as well help out in trying to end this thing, and so I can get back to work quicker, right? So I was one of the crazy people who actually managed to get it to 500. It was cool.
Wow, nice. Didn't know that.
Yeah, I got myself my Marshall.
Wow,
Nice.
fantastic. Congratulations. And you
Yeah,
pitched
I ended
in.
up having to buy a new mouse afterwards from all the clicking.
So someone asked what the other winner is, real quick. The Uncensored Library for Public Service Activism and Social Impact was another Webbie winner. So that is, see if I
I
can
didn't know
scroll
there were
fast enough.
two. Are there
Yeah, there
usually
was
two?
another one, right? So this was about a game that promoted awareness around an issue, support of a particular societal cause, or otherwise encourage real world social action. And I'm trying to see what they did here.
And actually, sorry, while we're on this topic, there was a few streams that CCP did on their Twitch discussing Project Discovery with some of the scientists involved, with the team that was involved in implementing Project Discovery. So if you're like interested in them, go back and watch them on their Twitch. They're about an hour long, and it's just really cool to learn about some of the science behind how the Project Discovery works, what you're actually doing and solving.
Yeah. So I found it here really quick, and I didn't even know this was it, but it makes sense. I've heard this news story. So, in terms of fighting censorship and stuff on the internet, firewalls and restriction. However, and I'm just paraphrasing really quickly, Minecraft is a game that isn't necessarily blocked in many places of the world, and so a lot of stuff had. A lot of people were able to then go create books and stuff inside Minecraft, and so they use that loophole to build a digital library in Minecraft called the Uncensored Library. And censored articles from acclaimed journalists became uncensored Minecraft books inside the library. So for the first time ever, a game became a tool to overcome censorship. That's why they won that award. So that's the other one.
What kind of books?
That is too cool. No,
Isn't it,
that
though?
is way too cool.
Yeah. So over
what kind of
20
secret
million
knowledge?
gamers from 165 countries, up to somewhere around a total of 15 years of gameplay. But the library went beyond that. 790 news articles with a total media reach of 2.7 billion people helped resulted as this of the library. So yeah, you guys go read it. Go to the Webbie. You can get links to this uncensored library, or you could search for uncensored library. So two pretty
Right.
cool awards for the Webbie Awards, and we're one of them. EveUni is, anyways.
All right. Well, let's move on to the big news of the day. This is the Great Escape.
Yep.
That actually went to, let's go to patch notes.
Yeah, so some of you may have woken up and went on dock in your favorite quad warp core stabbed ship to, I don't know, deliver the newspaper, go get coffee, or whatever it is you do with a quad warp core stabbed interceptor or whatever, and you couldn't undock. Well, surprise, today's patch included the nullification and warp core module updates.
Make sure that we're at the right patch notes.
That looks right.
Well, this has the 6th. So we're looking for a newer. It's 19.246. It must be 19.3. All right, back to the drawing board.
And let me get you a link.
There we
There you
go. Patch notes. This looks right. 2017.
I linked it in local chat.
Thanks. All right, well, this looks right. No, this is all breaking apart. Okay, thank you for linking that. We should have had that ready to go. Sorry about that. Oh, well, I did have that. This is actually not the patch notes, though. Where are you guys putting the actual, all right,
I just put
podcast?
it
I put them in chat.
This is
put 'em
them,
in the-
yes.
Yeah, there you go. I put them in the
Thank you,
the
Rundle.
podcast channel.
Thank you guys for trying. And there they are, patch notes today. And no surprises except that they released all this stuff so quickly. People were caught off guard. We'd only started discussing this in the middle of last week. And then on Monday, there was something about the cloak. That didn't go in.
So
But, yeah.
this was initially announced last week, so that's why you guys just heard about it or started talking about it last week, as it was initially announced. When they initially announced it, the nullification module was a low slot, and it fit on all frigate class ships, so every single frigate, and then blockade runners, or not blockade runners, but industry ships were able to use it as well. Since then, they've changed it. The how it went live is the warp nullification module. Interceptors, yachts, and nullification subsystems now have a passive nullification removed, so you no longer have that where it's always on the ship, so you never get caught by a bubble. Interceptors, yacht, and nullification subsystems now have a new role bonus, an 80% reduction in target range penalty and reactivation delay for interdiction nullification modules, meaning that they take 30 seconds to go through a cycle now, which is less than a cloak timer on the other side of the gate, meaning you will always be able to activate this after going through a gate. And the 30-second means that you can activate it multiple times in the system in a reduced time. If you get caught again, you can activate it and get out of the bubble, which is hard to do, but it is possible. And then the next one, interceptors, yachts, and nullification subsystems now have a new role bonus, 100% increased duration for the interdiction nullification module, meaning that instead of just for the 15 seconds that it activates for 30 seconds. So it's a total of a minute before you can activate it again. So that 80% is reduced a little bit by this increased time. But again, that's 60 seconds. That is less time than a cloak timer on the other side of the gate. That's really important. And then the passive nullification has been added to all shuttles. So shuttles no longer get caught by bubbles, which means shuttles are now useful for moving around in nullsec. We can get into the details later. New blueprints, seeding, and manufacturing data have been added for the new modules, and they range. They have meta variations as well as T2 tier 1 and faction variations. Warp core stabilizers were completely changed. They now only allow you to fit one per ship, which I guess we'll just read this really quick. Warp core stabilizers have been converted to an activated module. Penalties to the ship performance will remain as a passive effect. So if it's on your ship, you get the penalties. I think if it's offline, you might not have the penalties. I can't remember. I haven't played with it enough yet. And only the warp strength is improved when activated. That's super key. Warp core stabilizers now carry the following similar statistics. Activation cost is at around 80 gigajoules. Activation duration is at around 10 seconds. Reactivation delay is 150 seconds. So if you add in the duration and the delay, because you activate it this long and then you can't activate it until this timer expires after this timer does, it's 160 seconds until you can use it again. Maximum number of modules fitted. You can only fit one at a time. And there is some variation, as Matterall is showing now. And the warp scram strength is -2 for all of them. This is standard across the board. This means that even with a warp core stab, if you get caught by a faction scram, you're still going to be held. Targeting range reduction minus at or around 40%, scan resolution at or around 40%, and drone bandwidth penalty at or around 50%. And then these can be activated. Both of these can. The nullification module and the warp core stabilizer can be activated under the effect of the Stargate cloak. So if you are cloaked under the Stargate, you can activate these modules before you initiate warp. But if you're in a ship that has a longer than 10-second alignment time, you would have to time it properly. Thinking Hollow.
Stargates and jump gates. So if you're in nullsec and you're using the jump gate system, that would also that gate cloak system, just to be clear.
I have fairly strong opinions on this. I think that it is good in that it forces you to make a decision for nullification on the nullification ships, and it adds a little bit of depth in decision making, which I feel is important, even if the right decision is always to fit the nullification module. You still have to decide to do that, and you have to give something up on the ship to do so. It does cost CPU, power grid, and activation costs to use it, and there is a little bit of thought there, making it slightly more engaging to use, but it does also make it possible for ships to be caught that are nullified. And I feel like that is a very important key point too.
In a good way or bad way for you?
In a good way. I don't think that scouts in a fleet should have free reign to get around without or with impunity. There should not be impunity in getting around. So this makes it so that there is a chance to get caught. It's going to be very hard to catch something that flies with a nullification module and a warp core stab does it properly. It'll be hard to catch things, but at the same time, it is possible, and it being possible means you can actually shut down a scout for a fleet, or you can actually shut these things down, meaning counterplay is possible. I think that's very important.
What about like gate camps? I think Valamir here says that there's no protection against a faction scram now, since it has 3 points.
That is 100% true. So a faction scram you cannot counter, but I feel I don't have hard data to back this up, but I have my soft data that is the fact that there's a limit to how many faction scrams exist. They're not unlimited, and if everything decides to fit a faction scram, the cost of faction scrams will go through the roof, and I doubt everything's going to fit a faction scram because they'll get too expensive. So it'll come down to cost. Is it worth it to fit this onto the ship to be able to catch everything, or do I let these things go and not be able to and fit the T2 scram? Or of course, you can do the T2 scram and the disruptor, which equals +3, and you hold them.
Right. So these aren't meta scrams; these are faction scrams. You want to describe where is all faction scrams, or is it just the officer ones
There's a
or the
few that
epistle
have
ones?
there's a few that have +3 scram strength, and they all come from either officer spawns or they can come from NPCs, but the fact is that you can't make 200 of them
Well,
in a day. Like there's a finite source of where they
right.
come from, and the bottleneck to build them is fairly
We
large. Even if you dedicated all your time, you would need to get tags because all of them don't just require LP. You need tags as well, and tags are hard to get your hands on.
we
So
talked about this yesterday that the base was 3 for these warp core stabilizers. They reduced it to 2 and then created the faction scram problem. So now the faction scram can catch warp core stabilizer. Is it possible they will make faction warp core stabilizers have a +3 to their defense to equal out the faction scram?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens, but I really don't foresee faction scrams being fit on every ship because they do get expensive when demand increases for them. They're not
Well,
easily
the same holds
mass
for
produced.
not everybody would have faction warp core stabilizers. The rarity
Yeah.
argument would play on both sides of it. But if they did it for scrams, I wonder if they won't do it for warp core stabilizers. That may be an interesting thing to watch for, but don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it develops. But yeah, there wouldn't be a counterplay to having 3 scram strength at the moment. But the counterplay before was pretty absurd, right? You'd have 3 warp core stabilizers on your ship, which gimps it pretty heavily. You're missing 3 low slots.
Well, if you're an
And
industrialist, you don't really care about
I mean,
targeting.
cargo expanders or EHP.
Yeah, you're just
They're
sacrificing some cargo.
very important things. Yeah.
Right.
Both of
So what about the gameplay? It's even been mentioned in the chat. Just putting two scrams on a ship now. I don't even need a faction scram. I just need 2 scrams.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
But then the attacker is giving something up to be able to get that. He's giving up a mid slot. And a point and a scram would work.
Well, he doesn't need 2 scrams now. He only needs well, I guess
a point
he
and a
does.
scram.
Yeah, a point and
Yeah.
a
So a
scram.
disruptor and a scram, exactly right. I mean, he just needs the extra +1. There's a lot of fits out there that
I mean,
have both a disrupt and a scram on it, right?
It still
So-
takes some space. I don't know what the advantage would be to mixing like that. Is there an advantage? I would think you just need 2
So
scrams.
there's a disadvantage. Well, the advantage of mixing is you can grab at longer ranges with the disrupt. So I do have some fits that carry both. For
With 1
PvP.
point.
No,
Yeah, with a
both,
point and a
with both of them.
scram.
Yeah, I have those 2.
There's benefits to mixing because you have the additional range, and then the scram shuts down the micro warp drive. So having that range to hold and then being able to catch him with the
Yeah,
scram to shut down the
exactly.
micro warp drive is strong.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where you try to prevent them from warping away, but then you overheat your micro warp drive to catch up, scram, knock theirs off, stop overheating, and then finish holding them in orbit tight or something. That's sometimes the only way to find and fight someone who's in reasonably close speed to you, right? 4,200 meters per second or something, and you're going to overheat and go 55, but you need to stop their extra propulsion, otherwise you're screwed. But that's usually the gameplay
They
style.
called this patch the Great Escape, and then they're telling us that you can't really escape with these warp cores where you could before.
I mean,
so this is like the not so good escape.
I feel like more ships will be able to use warp core stabilizers than before because you get +2 for the 1 module, whereas before you needed 2 for it to work altogether. And then also, it kind of makes it so those people that fit 7 warp core stabilizers in the lows, they're probably not going to be doing that anymore. So kind of it's a twofold thing. It makes it so that the scenarios that are absurd where people are using them right now aren't valid anymore, but the more common situation where there would be reasonable is now a valid place to do it because it's worth it now because it's only one low slot instead of 2 or 3.
Yeah. Well, it does
As well,
say.
don't forget, the Venture and the Deep Space Transports still keep their hull bonuses to warp core strength.
Yes, that's huge. So now Ventures, with the one more course camera, have +4 strength, which is huge. They can't nullify, if I understand correctly. They can't be introduction nullified, but they do have that +3 or +4
Actually,
total.
they can nullify not the Venture, but the
Prospect, because it's
the DST can.
Oh, hold on,
Let's have a look. I have it right here. I'll bring this up.
Yeah, the DST will be able to nullify and warp core stab.
Yeah, it's the third one listed there. But the Venture, I think the Venture fell off. The T1 frigates. I think.
I don't think it can nullify.
I guess it's
I'm
not.
checking right now.
The Venture isn't a frigate, is it? It's a frigate-sized vessel, but it's not technically a frigate.
Frigates aren't on the list anymore. They got knocked off the list.
Yeah, but the Venture is what they call that, a mining frigate, right?
But it was there at one time for nullification. Frigates were, sorry, but I don't think the Venture ever was.
It can't take it. It can't take a nullification. It's classified as a frigate.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, that's important.
I like the industrial.
So they took that away. Hold on a second, Ronald, before you go off.
Sorry.
They did initially allow T1 frigates to
Yes.
use nullifications, and so you would have had a Venture with a T1 with a nullification module on it. If the Venture is considered a frigate, I'm not sure it's considered a frigate in the way that they meant it. But they took that away, so now no, and they took it away, I think, primarily for wormholers. So thanks, wormholers.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I definitely think it was for the.
You know what? It's that stupid escape bay that is very gimmicky. It doesn't. I'm sorry. It's very gimmicky. It doesn't make much sense. That you would have that they would. It just doesn't make sense. It seems like it was a gameplay for sake of gameplay, and now you have to design around that. And that's one of the problems with sticking in stuff just for content creation or interesting choices in combat situations. Like I think you break some of the logic of the game when you do that kind of thing. And there have been other examples of that. I would say Proving Grounds are kind of like that too. Those are gameplay. Those are gameplay things. They don't have anything to do with the universe. Sorry, that's my rant. I'm done. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the Venture was what is considered a standard frigate under the ore line, but you do need a mining frigate skill to fly it. That's what I was thinking, mining.
So,
but the hull itself is considered a frigate. So you're right. It had it and then it got removed.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it would have qualified.
I checked the prospect. It cannot fit the nullification module as well.
Thank you. Officially for sure, it cannot.
Correct. Right. I double checked.
Thank you. But you were saying, I think I interrupted somebody.
I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you didn't lose it. I knocked you off your rails and crashed your train. Sorry.
Yeah. But
Rundle, were you going to come in here with something?
Well, no. What I was going to ask was, I was going to kind of go to the shuttles for a second. Because I looked at shuttles today and I could not find the normal line that I would have expected in the front description that says, "Hey, it's now warp core nullified." And I kind of took a peek around. Did you look at it, Hateless or Abby? Has anyone looked at the shuttle?
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, for some reason it didn't seem like I believed them. Now, I didn't hop in a shuttle and try, but I saw a lot of shuttles around. There was a lot of people. I think it's working because I saw a lot of shuttles flying around in Delve today, trying them out. So I'm guessing it's there. It's just they didn't put the description in, which of course is confusing as all get out for anyone. A little annoying.
Yeah, you're correct. There's no description.
Wrong. It's not in the description.
Yeah, that's very confusing. It's not in the attributes either.
That's right.
No
it's not
of
anywhere.
it.
You can't see it anywhere in the shuttle.
It will be there soon, we're told. Sorry.
It will be. Okay.
We're told from CCP Swift, it will be in there.
CPC Swift, get it right, man.
I think we went through everything that's in there, I think. But what we need to talk about is there were some things that still need to happen or that happened that kind of trapped some people, and all that is being rectified probably within this first day or two.
Right.
including the description on the shuttle to let you know that it's nullified.
Right. So I think the other place I was going to go here was some of these trade-offs, right? And because I think this is where I believe you guys have talked a lot about it. These are where the real kind of odd trade-offs that is impossible to gameplay test is where it's going to come into play, like drone bandwidths reduced by 50%, things like that, right? 80% reduction in target range penalties. These sorts of things where people are going to have to figure out some different parts of the game. I don't even know what they are myself. I just know it's coming. And so I'm going to be very interested to just kind of watch what happens with those kind of changes. Things like that are really
So
concerning.
my note on this is that if you were fitting warp core stabilizers before, they had like a 25% penalty to the scan and targeting range resolution targeting range reduction and scan resolution reduction was already there on warp core scrams. I think it's like 25% per, and they did not have stacking penalties on that. So it's flat and it was multiplicative, which means that is 25 plus times 25% times 25%, which ended up being just as bad. If you fit two of them, you had just as bad as before now. So it is similar to what it was before. The thing that is new is the drone bandwidth penalty is what is new to this, and this will make it so that say a Dominic's ratting or a Gila ratting or an Ishtar ratting is not going to want to fit a warp core scram, and it will make them vulnerable. They can if they want, but it's going to discourage people that want to farm to fit these. But as I've said before, it being one slot now makes it more appealing to a lot more different situations than just what it was before, where there's kind of like edge cases where you would want to fit 4 warp core stabilizers on your ship because you have nothing else to put there.
All right, real quick break. Can you tell us what your cat's doing there?
So I updated my stream setup and I got another monitor, and the cat has cat TV. So there's a video of a mouse, and the cat's trying to attack the mouse on the monitor.
It's a hole in the
I do
wall
have
that the mouse
yeah.
comes out.
I do actually have a camera specifically to the cat. The camera appears.
See, he's hedging his bets like halfway behind the monitor in case the.
But yeah, I got a camera that aims right at him from another angle. But yes, I got a cat. The cat is literally ratting. So
The
yeah.
cat is ratting.
Does your cat stream on Twitch?
Might have to have a cat stream. I'm not sure.
There to go with the mouse. Oh, hey, look, that mouse is getting away, cat. Oh.
No,
Okay.
they've been absolutely loving this, like 100%. Since we set it up on Saturday, and I've had it for a few days, and they love it.
I'm telling you, you cat people are fucking weird.
Thanks, Ashrathi, for that generous raid. We're watching Hateless's cat, Hateless's cat watch cat TV, which is a mouse running back and forth. All right, back to Eve Online. Abby, what were some of the things that people were suffering from today?
Yeah, so today's patch with no announcement kind of caused some issues for people. If you were in a station and you had warp core stabilizers, like 2 of them fitted, and you went to undock, you got a nonsensical error message. It just kind of said something like, group item of type ID 479. So if you weren't really paying attention, you might not have caught what was wrong with your ship. There were some other issues. If you were docked up in a Citadel and it didn't have a core, you might not be able to use the fitting services. You actually wouldn't be able to take off the modules. So you couldn't undock because you had the modules, and then you couldn't take them off because there was no services. CCP quickly put out statements asking people to submit tickets for stuck and stuff, right? They'd take care of it. But really, just I think the main issue was the whole community being surprised by how quick these changes came out. Really caught a lot of people off guard. If you logged off last night in a cloaky hunting ship or a tech tree cruiser that was nullified, and then you wake up today and it doesn't work the way you intend it to, and you don't have the module. The blueprints took a while to get on the market, I think.
You can just hear somebody swear, Hilmar, I really meant to click singularity. I'm sorry.
What could they have done, if anything, to make a smoother transition?
I think like maybe a notice on the login screen, that this patch has now gone live, a little bit more of a warning.
Do they do that with any patches though?
They did have it in the launcher this morning.
Okay.
Did they? I didn't see it this morning.
Yeah, it just the carousel normally has 1 or 2 items, and they had another thing in there that was updated afterwards, and the carousel has the most recent. So depending on the size of your launcher, sometimes you can have 2 things, sometimes you can have 1 thing. Sometimes if you make it bigger, you have 1 thing, or if you make it smaller, you get 2 things.
You can make 6 things if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, it can get up to 6, but depending on the shape and size, it has a different number of things. What I feel like they could have done is they could have announced the skins first, and then made it so the most recent thing for the day was the thing, so it would guarantee that note was up front. But I guess skin sales trumped.
Well,
patch notes
I bet you
today.
different departments have access to it and they push their department's thing to it, something like that. So it's not one person or one even team that's saying this is what the launcher is going to have on it. I bet it comes from different people. Let's have a look at that.
I mean, we have this, so we have the one. I don't want to show my whole launcher, but if you resize this, of things. So now I have 2 things,
There
and
it
so now we
is.
have the Great Escape. It was there. It just depends on what you can see in your carousel. If you click that, it shows patch
That should have
notes.
been refreshed. Put it as the latest thing.
I think it should have been on top of this one, in my opinion, because I think patch notes are more important than skin sales. In again, opinion. Or have it so that there's not just 2 items in the carousel. Right now, there's 2 items in the carousel. If we made it so when there's patch notes, they're always in the carousel. So if you check this in the morning, that would always be you'd find
you're
patch
right.
notes in there.
Now that they could have done, yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of options, but the carousel is always here, and it normally has things for sale in it. I think that moving patch notes into the carousel and having a 3rd item would be a good idea. But again, we don't want to flood the carousel because it becomes ineffective when it has less things on it.
Yeah.
That is one. Yeah.
That's a very good point, and that I think they should have been able to do and should have done. Okay.
Yeah, I
Fair.
think so. I had this bit of a heated debate conversation with one of my corp mates about this because he was quite he was just upset. This gameplay was interrupted,
Ooh,
and
just a little upset.
he was just a little bit upset.
And
I was like, well, people weren't upset when they add the check mark, the check mark in the map section where you can now have your map or your destination route use jump bridges automatically, right? And I think that just kind of made it into the patch notes. That was a positive change. And there's tons of these things where they just push stuff in. Now, on his side, to argue on his side a little bit, I also agree that something this large, they probably could have done a little better job preceding some of the BPOs, really telling people, guys, this thing is coming. Get rid of your warp core stabs. Make sure even with a day's head up or a couple days, like fits are coming. Do it. We're telling you. And if you want to travel around New Eden with 3 warp core stabs, just be aware this was going to happen the next day. Don't dock here. Don't do that. Or if you want to drop down to 1 and just move to a different ship for a day, these sorts of things, they could have helped with this a little bit. That's what I think they could have done a little better.
I absolutely agree with you. I actually just want to give a big shout out to some of the CCPers who, since this change came and there was some uproar in the community, they have worked very hard, responding on Twitter, responding on Reddit, really trying to help people. And I think they realized they might have made a small boo boo, and they're working hard to fix it. And we do know that they are still having ongoing discussions between the CSM and CCP about really finalizing some of these changes. One of the ships that came up was the yacht, which is now kind of useless, for want of a better word.
Mm-hmm. How are you gonna refund my corp mates 30 minutes of lost gameplay though? I think you should get everyone in Eve 100
for being stuck.
Yeah, 100 plex. 100 plex for everyone for the whoops, we're sorry. Give everyone 100 plex.
I'm watching your cat rat. It's cracking me up.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
No, I. So, anyways, but he wasn't alone, right? There was a number of people that, and so it really just kind of borders on how was I supposed to know? Now, my answer to that was, well, Eve News is around. You check different places. You watch TIS. I absolutely had that mindset. Um, but yeah, at the same time, if you just kind of woke up today and you've been working for 5 days straight, and you're like, today's my day, I get to play Eve, and you logged in, you might have been a wee grumpy about it.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. I can understand that. So the development team does have a couple groups. They have one group that rapidly develops little changes to the game, and they have another group that develops bigger changes. And this is one of those rapid little change developments that we saw today. Whereas we can expect bigger patches monthly. So these tend to happen like once a month, and then the bigger patches happen every quadrant. So every 3 months we get like an actual large patch. We do have another one coming down the line, which I'm actually excited for. It's not in the launcher today, but it was in it yesterday, and we have a new deployable that is on the test server right now that will ping out and potentially decloak cloaked things, which I find very exciting. I don't know if you wanted to tell this just yet, but that is another one in this kind of like rapid cycle development
Yeah.
coming down the line.
We talked about it yesterday. I'd like your thoughts on it today, and the other stuff, the nullification and the workhorse stabilizers. These are three things that are changing. The mobile observatory, as it's called, is meant to be a deployable that you can set out, and it will decloak cloaked ships in the entire system. It has a 40% chance of doing it successfully, but the ships that are out there cloaked have 15 minutes of immunity after they initiate their cloak. When their time runs out, their 15 minutes runs out, they are, unless they turn it off and then turn it back on, they are no longer immune to this thing that can possibly decloak them. Some of the things that we heard that you might be interested in, they're worth about 40 million. So they're not super cheap. They're very, very squishy, so they can be blown up very easily. And you can deploy 10 if you want to, or redundant up to 10 in any system. So
And they are one use.
Yes, you can't put it back into your cargo and take it somewhere else. So
how exactly do they work? Do they ping every minute, or do they ping every 30 seconds? And do they just ping until they die, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's when you drop it, so you go to launch it like you would a mobile tractor unit. It takes 10 minutes to online, and at that 10th minute, it sends its first ping, and then every 10 minutes afterwards, for an hour and 40 minutes, it will send a ping. So you get almost 2 hours of pings out of the one module.
So every 10 minutes, that's 6, an hour and 40, that's 14 pings, right?
Yes, and you can stagger these. So if you had 10 of them, you could drop one at one, a minute interval, and then you'll have a ping every minute for those 2 hours.
The other question I have is, when something gets decloaked by it, how long are they forced to decloak?
It is just it is there's no extra penalty on recloaking. So if you are in a ship with a 5-second cloak reactivation delay or 15 seconds, it is whatever your ship's native reactivation delay is.
So this would still be difficult to scan somebody down that has a cloaking device and is paying attention.
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
So if they're not paying attention, they're probably going to get caught.
That's the key. That's right.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you could, if you were to warp between some spots and recycle your cloak, get a new safe spot, you have 15 minutes to, make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, take a phone
So
call.
you skip the next ping, basically.
Yes. Yeah. You As soon as you recloak, you restart that timer.
That's right. It's a 40% chance. So the ping isn't actually guaranteed to decloak you, by the way.
Well, 40% chance rolled 14 times, you're getting decloaked.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. But if you're paying attention and you happen to kind of watch when this thing, because it does appear on the overhead, if you happen to watch and set your own stopwatch, you can, try to Again, active gameplay. I'm going to decloak and recloak in 5 seconds. They're going to be looking more closer to their cloak time, so you might be able to decloak and then have your invulnerability over it, and you could stagger your cloak recloak personal time by pressing the button. Again, though, it's active play required to do that. So there's a way to circumvent it if you're paying attention and running your own timer. So you won't get decloaked if you're paying attention and they only drop one.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. That is a Mr. Bellatrix Patronus worried about script programs recloaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a concern.
I mean,
But for the most part, this is pretty solid.
If you can, okay, so when you write a bot script, it's literally scripting your desktop. So it's something's moving your mouse around and tapping on things, and if you set it up correctly, it can hit buttons for you on your HUD, and that's how a lot of botting happens. At least stuff that I remember.
You can very easily write a program to time even. Actually, I'm not even going to tell you how.
No, you can. This is common knowledge, and it's been around for 10, 15 years. You can actually write variation in it. So you can say inside this area, pick a random spot, and then that area is the button. So you can randomize.
It doesn't even require a bot. It just
there's
simple
need a Logitech keyboard, one of the old ones with the.
Yeah, I think the technology is probably way better than it used to be.
Been around there forever.
But the point is, you could program randomness in it so that the computer couldn't say, this guy's touching the exact same pixel over and over again. He's a bot. Because that's impossible for a human to do. So they can get away with some obscurity. And what we think about, what we say is like, maybe what CCP has done is created yet another hurdle, which is a plus for people who can bot these AFK cloaking characters out there. And not only that, but maybe CCP is smarter, wiser, has better tools to pick up patterns that are not very human related. Although if you look at Project Discovery, a lot of EVE players don't act like humans either, right? Their incredible dedication gets unbelievable computer-like results, but they're actually humans doing it.
So I was going to bring this up, but since we brought in this additional tool, right? So for me, one of the things that's always bugged me about EVE is, here we are in this super hyper computerized universe with all the sorts of super fancy things, and I'm left to somehow manage a bunch of keys on a keyboard and different slots, that are either F1 or Alt F1 or Control F1, and I have no way to put together a simple in-game script for I want to press these 3 buttons simultaneously or in a row to do something. And so I've been thinking about, the nullification, like I have to do these 2 buttons now. When I jump through a gate, I have to make that choice. But what if, there's a number of options that if you kind of keep extending along that line, there's, at some point, the human inability to kind of click a bunch of buttons and move your fingers and the mouse, that's not about being a good player. That's just about, maybe fumbling or being awkward in a moment. I don't think that's necessarily like the logic in your head is there, but and then there's people with disabilities and inability to do certain things, and that makes a game like this to be maybe unplayable in certain situations, right? So what do you guys think of that sort of ability, like this super computerized universe, and we can't do the simplest of computer things?
So that is honestly a major balancing factor to EVE Online. A human can only do so much.
Yeah.
And that's me speaking as a multi-boxing, like I multi-box. I play a lot of accounts at once. There's only so much that I can do in a minute, in 30 seconds, in 10 seconds. There's only so much that can be done. Even if you have 100 accounts open, there's only so much a human can do. And that is the balancing factor. You can have as many accounts as you want, but there's only so much that you can do. I think that adding any kind of automation or allowing any kind of automation, input broadcasting, or multiplication of what you're doing would profoundly break the game.
Oh, shark in the water. I can see its fin in front of your face.
Yeah, she does that.
Yeah, I think I need to re-emphasize what you said. We call it the man-hour tax. But basically, in order to control there's different things that CCP can balance on. Maybe this is a rabbit hole, but the point is that one of those is what a human can actually do. When does it take a second human to be able to do a thing? And the more active the gameplay, the more often you need to go to a second person to do it, because a single person has to focus on what they're doing because it's active gameplay. Passive gameplay lets you sit back and control 5 or 6 clients. Because it's passive, you don't have to pay attention to all of them at the same time. And this cloaking thing was a very passive game style. So now they've added you must be active in order to completely protect your AFK cloaking character, and that's how they designed this fix. It was designed to make it to tax man hours, basically. You have
So
to switch over to
ultimately,
active.
it's not a large tax. It's like from experience and like how difficult things are to do. Managing your cloak and staying cloaked up in a system isn't that difficult if you check on it every minute or so. You'll be fine. It's just the fact that there's something to do in your rotation
People will
is really
forget.
important. Yeah, that's
You'll be doing
like I said.
something, and you'll hear an alert like, "Uh-oh, I've been scanned down and somebody's on top of me. How did that happen?" I mean, how many times have you like tried to make coffee on the stove, only 20 minutes later to smell a terrible burnt coffee smell and be like, "Oh yeah." And I think that's going to happen to people. But
Yeah, I think it will.
yeah,
I mean, in
that's-
that case, I think people will learn to dock up in a station if there is one, or safe log off if you know you're going to be longer. I mean, look, it happens. People get distracted. Someone might knock on the door. It happens to me the whole time. But I just think we'll learn to commit to playing cloaky playstyles, or we'll commit to taking that break for half an hour, 45 minutes. And
Yeah,
as well, actually, sorry, I just want to say that these modules are strictly low sec and null sec. They will not be allowed in wormholes, and Poshvin is still up for debate.
doesn't Parchment count as null?
Yes, but it counts
You
as,
can't bubble in it, right?
yeah,
you-
it's
I think you
funky.
can. I think you can.
You can bubble in it. It counts as null sec, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have a local like a wormhole.
The reason it's so weird is because they were actually going to take the true sec, or the security of that system, and change it so it would literally become wormhole-ish, and wormholes are also 0-0 basically, meaning null security, no security. But they couldn't do it with those systems, so they built something on top of it. They left the system a 0.5 or what, or 0.5 or whatever, and then they just mimicked all the other stuff, all the traits that nullsec brings, which are bubbles, which are, I believe you can bomb, all the things that you can do in nullsec, I think you can do in Poshvin, but technically it's not. You can't build anything because it's not sovereign, right? You can't own the space in order to build stuff. There's that kind of stuff that doesn't work, but
And you can't jump in or around it. You can only jump out as well. So you can take a sino out, or you can bridge out, but you can't bridge or jump in or around the system.
yeah, thank you, Fonsue. They used Crime Watch, which is ingenious. That's their workaround, because they couldn't fundamentally change the system. I think it would break too many things. It's kind of interesting. We had a whole conversation with them about how they did it, which was interesting. Very ambitious. All right. So have you experimented with, I guess, Hateless, have you experimented? God, we haven't talked. It hasn't been that long, but a lot's happened. When was the last time we talked to you? Marauders, right? You've been doing maraudering.
It was here last Tuesday.
I just made that up.
Yeah, I was here last
maraudering around.
Tuesday.
You've
I
been
don't remember
marauding.
what we were talking about last Tuesday. I've been flying random things.
Okay, all kinds of stuff. What are you up to lately?
I've been doing I made a brand new character on May 1st, and I'm working on getting that character to the highest reliable income per hour that I can. Right now, we're on day 18, and on May 30th, I'm going to give the character away.
Whoa,
Which is, yeah.
pretty cool.
So I'm building it up to give it away, and I've been working on that for the past couple weeks, and it's just a little month-long project that I'm doing to kind of play with the new player experience again, and get a grounding for what it's like to be a new player. It's always good to kind of zero out so you can recommend what new players do when they start playing the game. It's hard to have advisement if you don't do it yourself.
I think because things change too, and you need to get
Yeah.
reacquainted. It's funny, you need to get reacquainted with what it's like to start. And there are people coming in
Yeah.
saying, these guys know everything already. And you know what they don't know?
Mhm.
What that new player is about to experience. That's what all these
Yeah.
advanced players don't remember.
Once you get to a certain point, I actually started the character right before the new tutorial came out, so I have not done the new tutorial yet, and the character hasn't gone through the tutorial system yet, so I could do the new tutorial on the character.
Is it still A/B tested? Because I heard that only certain characters they were A/B testing.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure. I do want to play through the new player experience. I started the character and haven't had a chance yet. But that is something that happens. You play the game for 3 or 4 years, and you get all your Magic 14 trained. You get Advanced Weapon Upgrades 5. You get all the fitting skills and all the rigging skills trained, and then you forget what it's like to be handed a fit, and then I can't fit this. What do I do? And that's you don't think about that as a veteran. You don't really realize that, hey, this happens, or because you don't have the gunnery support skills, what you would think would work doesn't work because you're missing certain skills. The game changes a lot as you get near max skills.
Is advanced weapon upgrade considered a Magic 14 skill? By the way, Magic 14 are basically the core skills that you need to fit for every ship. It just makes you much more easily able to use recommended ships, recommended modules if you have these skills maxed up or whatever. But I don't know, is advanced weapon upgrade?
I believe it's on the list.
I think it
can't
should
remember. If it's not, it should be.
Yeah,
It
it's
reduces
a long
CPU
train.
use.
I actually think
But
weapons upgrades is, but maybe not advanced weapons upgrades.
So Jinker in here says it's not part of Magic 14, which is interesting.
yeah, I think it should be. I also think thermodynamics should be on that list too, but I vary a little bit.
That's
But
added
advanced
gameplay,
weapon
but yeah.
upgrades takes 28 days to do, and it makes fitting a lot of things easier when you're using damage increasing mods such as ballistics controls, gyro stabilizers, or magnetic field stabilizers.
Yeah.
It makes that easier to fit. Actually, no, it reduces
the guns
of the guns themselves.
Yeah.
So it helps almost every ship.
Which is huge, because if you go into any nullsec alliance and you don't have that trained to 5, you will not be able to fit what they fit. And so their recommendations or their requirements.
Is it power grid? Sorry.
Yeah, it reduces the power of guns.
Weapon upgrades is CPU.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, weapon upgrades itself isn't even on the Magic 14. So don't even forget about it. Don't even worry about advanced weapon upgrades. Weapon upgrades themselves.
But that's not a fitting. That's not a fitting issue. It just doesn't let you do more damage with weapon upgrades. But the weapon upgrade advanced version allows you to put those T2 guns in and fit 6 or 7 of them, as opposed to 4. You know, it's a big difference when you're in a nullsec group.
Weapon upgrades too allows you to do things like gyros to heat sinks to.
Yeah, those are all important, but they're not critical.
No, it's more damage or more. It's just to make your things better, but you're not like, hey, I got to fit a new thing. Right?
We'll try Magic 16.
Yeah, but the when you don't have these skills all trained to 5, it makes life more difficult. Also, with the support skills for weapons and missiles, application is lower. Your ship doesn't move as fast. It doesn't have as much health. You like, it's not a night and day difference, but it's enough that makes like running a level 3 mission in a cruiser really difficult if you don't have all these trains. But if you have them all trained to 5, it's no problem.
Yeah,
and you forget that relation and difference very easily, I might add.
And when people like you, or high level and high experienced people, are working on really optimal fits, you're working with like max skills, and you're looking at statistics, trying to get creative at the very height of what people can use. So you can't possibly then, unless you are doing it deliberately, theory craft for people who are at lower levels than that, because they could be at a really low level, they could be a medium level, a medium high level. You don't know where they're at skill wise. So normally theory crafting at the advanced level is usually for really optimal skills, and that's why a lot of people are left behind when they look at fits.
Yeah, making fits for low skill points is interesting. That's all I'm going to say, because
Is it
there's
a
a lot of
whole nother discipline?
there's so much variation.
Yeah.
It's not that it's harder or more difficult than fitting for max skills, but fitting for it just there's so much variation and learning what to do when
The
you can't
choices are
do
more
something.
diverse, right? The
Yeah.
choices are more diverse. You got to make more. Oh crap! I really got to choose between this and this, right? Is really as opposed to 2% of something versus 3% of something of the same thing isn't the choice anymore. It's literally protection or guns or utility or something. You really have to make a strong decision of, am I even going to have this on my ship?
Yeah. So I think that's really cool though. So you did a character, you're showing how to make good amount of money in the game running missions, which is the thing that you're good at. I think
Well,
you're
it's
good at a lot
actually
of things. But
Abyss. Missions are terrible for new players.
are they? So what do you? How'd you do it? What was the path?
So far, the path was, and I haven't played as much. I should be further along on this project, but I haven't played as much as I wanted to. We started with a 3 millionist Kestrel. We hopped into Kestrel and did Tier 0 Dark Abyss. We're still in Tier 0 Dark Abyss, but we've made some upgrades to do them faster. So it's all about doing them fast to earn money as a new player. So we started in a Kestrel. It's 3 million. It's literally the Eve recommended fit. So if you open up your fitting window here, let me bring up the character here. But if you open up your fitting window and click on this community fittings, we ran this Kestrel with one modification and minimum skills. Sorry, it's not that one. Abyssal Tier 1. This won't do Tier 1 anymore. It did Tier 1 when it was put in the game, but it won't do Tier 1. The only thing we switched is we switched the multi-spectrum shield hardener to a compact. The compact has 4% more resist and uses less CPU, has the same cap use and everything, and it's cheaper. So we started with this 3 millionist Kestrel with no skills. I didn't use any of the or very many of the skills from the invite code. So we hopped into Abyss initially with this. We ran this until we farmed up enough ISK to upgrade the Kestrel and fit it a little bit better. We upgraded the Kestrel, and then we got into a hook bill. We got up to like 25, 30 million ISK, and we bought a hook bill. We kept the Kestrel, and then we just kind of hopped up. We upgraded the hook bill a little bit, and then
What's
we
the
got
hook bill
into a
come
Karma.
from? What family does it come from?
Kaldari Navy frigate. It does kinetic damage with missiles, so it's another light missile boat. And we're specifically doing darks because all the NPCs do less damage because they use mostly guns, so they do less damage. And so we can survive darks no problem with very little skills. And then the missiles, although they have poor range, everything is close in Tier 0, so you can deal with the poor range. And then we just kind of kept on upgrading our DPS and maintaining tank, and we ended up with a Garmer that's smashing. I'm sorry, I'm not logged into the character that I did it on, so I can't show you the fits, but we just kind of been upgrading that Garmer and moving on. We're up to, we started, I think the first hour we made like 5 million an hour, and then as we upgraded and moved up, we were able to get out of the less than 100% success rate up to 100% success rate as we got into a hook bill, and then we were able to increase the income from there. And we've gotten up to about 22 million ISK an hour. And so far, our net worth is around 200 million ISK or so. And I bought a few daily alpha injectors. So the character is progressing really nicely for only being 18 days old.
Did you start buying some jewelry?
No, it's not that wealthy yet. It's just buying skill injectors.
Buy a
The
monocle?
daily alpha injectors.
No
I
extras.
wish.
Okay.
Yeah, not a whole lot of extras. Some viewers have pitched in and given me some metaplasma things. We do have a system in place that I can get a little bit of outside aid, but nothing game breaking that will make it so like, yeah, just give me a 5 billion ISK kilo. Let's suddenly have 200 million ISK an hour because we just threw a bunch of ISK at it. No, the character is working his way up.
Let's go watch your cat ratting. Maybe we could learn something there. In the background, there's a cat swiping at a fake mouse on a monitor, which I love. Got a kick.
You're gonna end up taking that monitor back and be like, I don't know how all these scratches got here.
Don't look at us, cat. You're missing the mouse. I was going to ask you one last question. Oh, yeah, this is a question from a viewer. Can't read the name. It's in red. Abyss or Explo? Which ones are you doing? Abyssal space?
So we're doing Abyssal. There's a trade-off between exploration, combat exploration, and Abyss as a new player. One thing that I value really highly in making ISK and EVE Online is its consistency. Abyss is super consistent. Like, at first it sounds like it's not consistent because there's a lot of randomization, but over a period of an hour or so, when you're doing 5-6 sites an hour, it becomes super consistent. Um, the difference is exploration is not as consistent. You can make more. You can definitely make more as a brand new character. You can probably achieve 100 to 150 million ISK an hour. However, there's a chance that you don't make it home. There's a chance that you get nothing, which makes it inconsistent, depending on your amount of time, how long your trips are, and your average take home per trip. You could eventually get an average, but I feel like in a month time frame, it's unable to get a reliably consistent income. Um, and so finding something that is consistent, I feel, is incredibly key.
Yeah.
Because then you can earn the money to go take that risk and do the exploration and have your jaunt out there to take the chance. But if you have a basic, or if you don't have a basic income, when you get that unlucky day where you lose 3 or 4 ships and now you have no ISK, now what do you do?
Yeah. I was going to ask
Yeah, I
you
think-
if that was more valuable. Go ahead, Abby.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's very important that you need to find something you can always fall back on no matter what. So even if you lost everything and you're down to your last 5 million ISK, you can start from fresh with a Kestrel in the Abyssal.
Yeah, so what I always recommend is whenever you're ratting or doing something that brings income, whenever you upgrade ships. So say you're running incursions and you're currently in, say, a Megathron. I'm probably gonna ruin this because this probably isn't the stereotypical progression. So you got a Megathron and you upgrade it into a Vindy, which is a encouraged upgrade. Instead of selling that Megathron, you'd buy the Vindy. You'd save up enough to buy the Vindy, and then say that Vindy dies, you still have
Vindicator.
you still have the Mega to use if you lose your Vindy, or say you upgraded from Vindy to Kronos. You lose your Kronos, you can step back. You still have your Vindicator. It's important to have your last step in place in case you lose what is your primary income. And using stepping stones and keeping previous steps is really important. It's like making a save point, or having multiple occurrences of something that you use to farm to keep consistency. So when you do die or when you do lose, you have something that you can use, and that's helpful.
So never sell your ship to upgrade it to a different
Correct.
situation. You always want to keep that. Yeah. I like the save point analogy. Makes sense.
I recently went back, started a new character, and I went through the new tutorial with the 3D aura, and the proper tutorial with like the sleeper stuff. It's really cool, Hateless. You should go check it out. I think you'd enjoy it. The storyline is actually really interesting. I found for those first kind of
Ooh.
15 missions.
Are you gonna do
That's
this?
awesome.
Are you gonna do this again, Hateless, or is this experiment a one-time thing?
I generally do something similar once a year. We made I'll go back as far as I can. When I started streaming, I made my character called Hateless, and I did a 0 to hero series. I did it kind of weird. I threw 10 billion ISK at the character. I trained it to fly a Macario for level 4s and got the social skills for it. And when I started running level 4s, and the goal of that series was to go from not being able to do burners to being able to do all the burners. So he earned ISK via level 4 missions to buy skill injectors and to buy the ships to do the burners to increase his income. That took me about a month and a half to go from just running level 4s to doing all the burners. That was a fun one, and it gave me a lot of perspective into what it takes to get to where I was. About a year later after that, a year and a few months, I made another new character. This one was just purely bought. I had ISK in my wallet, and I just injected the character to do all the burners, and I just made the character and started farming 3 accounts. Okay, that's just what I decided to do. And it gave me that one gave me a perspective of how expensive it actually is to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to buy the skill points to get the character. Is it worth it to just do this, to just buy a bunch of skill points? Well, that is expensive. That is very expensive. You can do it. It's not cheap. And then I did a 0 to hero last year in, I want to say June, where I made a new character and I received absolutely no outside aid, and I gave myself a hard limit on time that I was allowed to play it. We actually played it for a couple months and progressed it through Abyss. We got it up to tier 3 Abyss running and the ability to run level 4s. It was able to pay for its Omega and made 60 to 70 million ISK an hour. Did really good. So I went from 0 to that. And then now we're here 7 or 8 months later, and I'm doing another one. I tend to do it about once a year just to kind of keep perspective on what it is to be a new player. Because that way I can actually realistically advise what new players should work on or how they should work.
Yeah, you can relate to them. Cool.
Can I just ask if I want to get caught up with the series, is it on YouTube? Is it on your Twitch?
Both my 0 to Hero series are on YouTube. I documented them fairly well. This current series, I'm going to admit, I did an announcement video and I haven't posted a video on YouTube since. I've been really bad about YouTube for the past month or two. I really need to get better at that. So yeah.
All right, so let's all just check out your Twitch and watch your 0 to Hero series on Twitch then. Save you the hassle of having uploaded.
It's they're on YouTube. Do you want me to provide a link to my YouTube?
Yeah,
that'd be great. Throw it in the chat.
All right, and we'll wrap up as you're doing that. I think there's one more announcement. Isn't there, Rundle? That you want to?
Yeah, I thought it was of interest. Just really quickly, if they have such a long history in Eve, the Red versus Blue RvB and EveUni, of course. EveUni just had a birthday a little while back. RvB. Anyway, so they've thrown out an email. High Sec War is coming. 2 of the New Eden's oldest institutions go to war, and you can be part of it. Red versus Blue versus EveUni, and there's ways that you can find that. You can track down any of the RvB Corps or EveUni, go out on their Discord and stuff. So, I thought it was kind of neat news. Yeah, it's like a high sec Thunderdome, so it's not like you're just fighting for glory, I guess. And for a side, it's not like you're fighting for for Sov or anything. But they've been around Eve, those 2 institutions, for a long time, and I just wanted to at least say, hey, I saw the email, so check that out.
Gives people a chance to practice.
That is absolutely awesome. Both of those groups are great at helping new players. Red versus Blue for learning PvP. You get in a lot of fun little fights there. And then EveUni teaches all kinds of things, and they are absolutely fantastic. I actually rely on their information heavily for making some of my guides on YouTube. They have a lot of amazing information.
Yeah. Actually, I have an announcement too. Thanks for that, Rundle. And that is that we'll have CCP on again tomorrow, along with EveUni. So we're going to be talking to them about, well, I'm not sure it's a secret, but it's player related, because that's what EveUni focuses on, is getting players up and running and going. And CCP is going to be there with EveUni and myself to talk about that tomorrow, and then we'll probably rebroadcast that a couple times. I think this may be a live broadcast actually tomorrow at an unusual time, so look out for that. We'll ping it inside of TIS Discord, and you'll see it if we stream here, if you're subscribed or whatever to our channel. So check that out tomorrow. Another little surprise and some more CCP for you guys.
So I guess if you really don't want to miss that, join the Discord if you haven't already, and keep an eye out for the ping.
That's right. All right. Hateless, thanks for coming by. Rundle, Abby, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Do you guys have anything else? Any last minute advice?
Fly fun and don't worry if you lose your ship. Have fun. That's what it's all about, right?
Just keep your last one. Okay. By the way, I need to get some soundboard devices down here so I can do the shark theme when your cat's tail crosses the screen. It starts to descend when it gets murkier in the water. I love that. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll now send you off to wherever else there is to go, and we will see you tomorrow on Talking in Stations.